XCN to zero, and here's why. The Sensi Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping technical nice, short and sweet, and always starting with Bitcoin. Looking at Bitcoin, this is kind of the area we are looking within. It's pretty impressive what the government can do, as we are supposed to be following this orange pattern here. And with the government getting their hands into cryptocurrency, this is what happened. So this is completely irrelevant for what has happened in previous Bitcoin history. This is now whenever Larry Fink, who says Bitcoin is money laundering, and then he becomes one of the bigger holders of Bitcoin. It's kind of iffy. It's buy the rumors, sell the news kind of TA. But what we could expect an even lower push for Bitcoin down to 93,000. And if it goes below that, we would most likely get some support here at 85,000 before pulling back up. If we move down to this area at 92,000, the 618 is right back up here at 113, which if it holds above that 108, we could expect a further continuation. Right now, the people who have a bunch of money are kind of just playing the market and moving it in the way that they prefer. As for XCN going to zero, it's not, but I will bring up the fact that Tornado Cash is still holding very nicely at that $11 mark, as I've explained many times before, and we came back down and touched that $11 mark, holding stability, and we don't have the CM Guppy in on here. I will try and bring it in real quick. For those of you who are just here for XCN, definitely check out what I'm speaking about in these other videos. I get a lot less views on the other videos. Go through them and watch them. Put them in the background noise and leave them playing while you're making food or something. But we have $12.68 for Tornado Cash. If you use the reference link for Tornado Cash, I'm going over to XCN because some of you just, piece through and wait for me to pull up the chart. But Tornado Cash is definitely a good bet at 1267, all-time high of 459. Using the reference link below, you get 20 USDT for free, which you can trade on MEXC and get free Tornado Cash. Who doesn't want half a grand for free, or at least $200 for practically free using a reference link? But again, Tornado Cash, phenomenal entry. XCN, let's go over it. Further decline. Obviously, it did not have this double bottom like we were expecting, and it has this downward trend line that we are still needing to break. It is very strong, and it is pretty much the major resistance we need to get over in order to have a major push up like we did back here in January. For those of you who bought late into January, it's always a gamble. Whenever the train starts running, it always has that pullback. People are selling off whenever they bought up here, and then it runs yet again, as we have seen similarly to Dash. I'll do that in a different video. But XCN, right now, the real range that we have is this entire downward area down to 0.003, more or less. And from that price point down, it is still a potential another 50% decrease in price. For those of you who are down 50% or more, just hold on to your bags. Do not sell and try and get a better entry. For those of you who have a job, maybe stack some more XCN before this takeoff and do some dollar cost averaging. For those of you who are trapped within that 0.016, 0.024, or even higher up here around 0.33, we will be reaching back into those areas. Some of you are concerned about this being a long-term play. Me personally, I think XCN is going to be pushing back up towards the 0.05 and beyond to 0.010. We are going to have a lot of sell-off here at 0.05 potentially for a quick retracement, potentially all the way down to 0.034 before pushing immediately back up and beyond. Imagine that we will have some sell-off here around 0.065 to 0.07, and then it'll have a continuation up to 0.0 or 0.10. Beyond 0.10, I don't believe there's a whole bunch of resistance. Going over to a different chart that shows the full all-time high. This is the reason right here that we could see a further price point just off of this one candle wick. This is a very strong base at dropping another 0 at 0.0005 more or less. That's the absolute bottom. But ultimately, we have this black downward trend line that we are trying to break over. We are in a downward channel when you zoom in on the daily. And we are working within this range here. I'll draw it so you guys kind of see the range that we are working within. Right in here is where we could be forming. But ultimately, whenever Bitcoin starts to pull back up, we're going to start seeing a lot of these altcoins take off with astronomical gains and pushing back up to previous all-time highs. A lot of people don't think it's possible, especially people who have been dealing with the stock market, maybe 10% a year. You can earn that very quickly in a day. And actually QNT went up like 20% the other day. It's all a gamble with the market manipulation that's been going on. But pushing up just to the 5 cents is 659% from this current entry point. And if you have some money to be putting in at this price point, or even a little bit lower, this will be breaking this downward trend line. Ideally, this is a better scenario than something moving very quickly, because when it moves quickly to the upside, you typically have a quick retracement to keep it very healthy with the RSI and the CM guppy in my strategy personally. For those of you who like watch TJR or Tory Trades or anything like that, they charge you like $350 or more for their courses. I'm giving you this information for free, always accepting donations. Currently, shout out to Woozall and Joe. Joe, I know we're waiting on this line break for us to have our second overview. And Woozall, shout out to you for donating. One whole dollar is going to help save lives for animals, not humans, animals. And we are currently at 0.006. So the CM guppy is starting to get thinned out. We do want to see this have a slower consolidation. We don't want to see rapid movements. We want to see it consolidate. Even if it pushes lower, it just gives it closer and closer momentum towards this downward trend line. And ultimately, when that's broken, we may see a little bit more consolidation. But once that is broken, I don't mind seeing quick, rapid movements, because they will be very violent and we'll be able to sell off and get a better entry. A lot of people are going to be selling off around here at 0.032 before it even hits its previous high at 0.05, more or less. And you just kind of have to play the game. I'll try and keep you informed on scalp decisions, but keeping in mind none of this is financial advice. It's just pure opinion, as I am not a financial advisor. But Onyxcoin, we are still waiting for that downward trend line to break. It is not going to zero. It may get close to it with Bitcoin's pullback from its previous high. And I have these orange boxes laid out here for Bitcoin so you can kind of see previous history. We've had it hit a high, and then from that high, we had a full retracement, about 32%. So with this previous all-time high, we could see more or less, what is 32%? Right around here at 85,000. But as we've seen in previous history, when we hit that absolute low right here, we had an immediate pullback up to the previous high, consolidation, and then a new all-time high up here. We are kind of expecting the same if Bitcoin does decide to pull back further and not have that pullback up towards 108. Then we can expect that further retracement, dragging the rest of the market down with it before ultimately doing its liquidity sweep, grabbing all the money it possibly can. Keeping in mind, we are very oversold. Last time we hit this 32% here on the chart back in April, the RSI didn't even break out of the 0.29, or I guess 30. And we are currently at the 0.36. Could we see a further retracement back to the 0.30 or lower? Yes, that's a possibility, as we've seen that happen back here in February, and it pushed back up, had that consolidation period. However, it did pull back, but it did not go oversold and pushed up to the overbought area in the RSI. With all that being said, it's a waiting game. I'm posting these videos. I hope you guys watch the other ones as well. They get a lot less views, but I do them for a reason, because those of you who are only invested in XCN, you definitely need to diversify, and hopefully you can make some substantial profits with this technical analysis information that I'm giving you. Pure opinion, not financial advice in any way. But like and subscribe if you have not. Good luck, have fun with it, and I will see you on the next one.